Welcome back, Dragon Ballers, to another episode of Get the Mic, the only show where your host on the left, Owl,
And your host on the right, Brock.
dissect fiction for its mythological significance. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Dragon Ball, episode 57, which is Arale versus Blue. And we've been continuing this saga of Penguin Village, with Goku and Blue arriving there for the past couple of episodes. So I'd recommend going back, perhaps clicking that notification at the top to go back to our first episode on the subject, because it really is going to be hard to keep up if you don't know the past couple of episodes' context.
Yeah, we've gone really esoteric in this, I suppose. So we're going to be speaking in metaphors a lot through this episode, I think.
So if you want to do that, please do. Otherwise, enjoy the show. So the first thing that we see here is a recap. Last episode, all of our characters have arrived in Penguin Village, meaning Blue and Goku, and they've kind of set up where they're going to be. So Blue landed in the mountains, and he talked to Superman, right? He stole Superman's car. Like, we get established on how they are placed within this world. Goku has asked Dr. Slump to fix his dragon radar, while Blue searches for a plane to get back to the Red Ribbon headquarters. Now, he realized that it was Dr. Slump's house that he's trying to look for in the first place. So their paths are kind of converging here, and it seems that all paths lead to Senbei in this town.
Right, it's the center, right? So as they're all going their different ways, we see this in the last episode as well, where like Goku and Arale keep boomeranging back into each other, right? They'll separate and then meet back up, and then separate and then meet back up. And it's sort of this, it's almost like things they just flow here, I guess you could say. Everything is just on a collision course with its opposite, because things are going into a stasis. They're going into balance automatically here. Which is not to say like Arale and Goku are opposites, but there's definitely a pairing between the two of them where it's like where the Nimbus goes is where Arale is going to want to go.
Fair enough. And so we do also get to see a little bit of Senbei, Dr. Slump, working on the Dragon Radar. And he doesn't seem very successful at it, but when his wife, I think it's either his wife or someone questions him on it, he changes form and looks like a more mature version of himself and says not to worry, that he's got it under control.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a very interesting moment, because we kind of see how Senbei is able to, in both the gag anime format and the form in which he exhibits, match up what he's trying to convey, and that's that sense of control and maturity that he's not created in Penguin Village, but seems to be able to harness.
It seems to be almost the logos of what's happening here, right? Something that can be attuned to.
Yes. And so Goku's actually a little surprised by this. He says, "What is he, an evil goblin?" Because he seems to be able to change his form like that. Which is funny, because later on in Dragon Ball, Goku will change his the animation of his face from serious, like closed eye animation to open eye animation, right? To rounded eye animation. So it's interesting. There it is, though. That's what I was talking about. And so then, while Goku is waiting, and this episode is kind of jumbled in the way that there are kind of two stories going on at once, but we'll cover both of them. While Goku waits with the rest of the Senbei gang, what did you call them? The Slump
Gang, dude.
The Slump Gang. He tells his new friends about the Dragon Balls. And meanwhile, at the coffee shop, the Kung Fu guy, what is his name? Something. It's Akane and someone else.
Taro is, or no, that's the cop.
it starts with a T as well. Taro comes in here though. So they're discussing Goku's appearance, and Akane even mentions that Goku's dressed like a kung fu guy. So the the young man who practices kung fu in the town should know about him. And he says, no, he doesn't. He hasn't hurt anyone like that. But they're interrupted by Taro, who comes in beaten up from Blue and warns them about the Red Ribbon Army. And like I said, back at Senbei's house, Goku is still waiting as he tells his friends about the Dragon Balls. Now, these aliens that come through the street right here, they say Earth as in URTH, and I
Earth.
think it's a pun, and it's got to be a pun.
It's probably a pun.
And so they are looking in the streets to find garbage to sell on their home world. And it's interesting that they're in this universe because I think it's that exact idea of finding value in things that are valueless that is part of the paradisa, right? That it's not necessarily for the value, but for the sake of it itself. It's distanced from the the search for the Dragon Balls, let's say. It's almost the opposite of it.
It's also interesting too that Goku and Blue are like two aliens in this place, right?
Yes.
And so at the same time, these two aliens, in a meta sense, like walk in and they're like, "Hey, we're here to scrap what's here for our own or for our own purpose," right? Like they're scraping the streets for what's left over and saying like, "We're gonna sell this on our homeworld," right?
Yeah, and Blue too is searching for things that he can use to get out of here. So yeah, I think it's a good parallel. So then we see that Arale wishes that her breasts would grow. And knowing she's an android actually gives another layer to that idea. And not only would she wish for that, but she would wish for tons of unlimited amounts of metal for the cherubs to eat. But just as she's saying all this, Dr. Slump arrives with the radar fixed. And he returns it to Goku. And so Blue, in the meantime, has made it to Dr. Slump's house, hiding behind it and finding the plane immediately. He notices Goku, and as Goku looks at the radar, he notices that there are Dragon Balls nearby because Blue is right there. So he begins to go look for them. So what do you think of that little set of events there?
So it's interesting because there's an element of Arale that she has been designed to remain in a childlike state, right? She doesn't age, and so she's pre-cosmogonic. She's not, you could say she's not a time-conscious being. And so whenever she thinks about what she would ask for from the dragon is that it would break that Ouroboros, right? It would separate, and there would be a linear flow to things, and that she could age, right?
It's a wise wish, even though it seems like a gag, right?
Right.
That's the thing. Yeah.
But she's time locked, right? So she needs time.
So she wishes to be away from that.
Right. And so, of course, that is the thing that would be the salvation for Blue, because we've talked about how he's locked in a really immature state here, and he's romanticizing the youth and the innocence, right? He needs the ideal to age up. He needs to become more mature in character so that he can reconcile his own pathologies that we've seen him act out. And so, naturally, the heroic mode of being, which is sort of the inverse of what Blue is, and that's how Arale is a giant foil to him, right? Where she is showing him the poop on a stick, and she's exactly the opposite of what he wants to look at, right? And so, of course, then exactly what she would wish for is to be able to age up and become.
I mean, she would have to be more like Akane, though, and break away from the place, which is why I'm interested to read Dr. Slump, is because I want to know that kind of relationship that they have.
But also, this analogy of being a robot or an android, Blue is just a robot for the Red Ribbon Army, right? And so he's also not able to grow in spirit, as this is what his mode of being is and what he's sort of subordinated himself to, right? And so It's almost like that Pinocchio wish to be a real boy, right? Or Arale's wish to be a real girl.
Yes, exactly, and that she
He needs
has
to
it is
stop
kind
being
of
a
the first
puppet
one.
and be like a real person and
Hmm.
actually break through the persona and be able to
And that's what she
reconcile that
means when
shit.
she says she wants her breast to
Yeah,
grow. That is our
that's
analysis.
obviously it.
Take it to the bank. So then we see the police actually getting ready to go confront the Red Ribbon Army threat. All the while, Goku is tracking Blue inside of Sinbei's house, eventually finding him in the fridge. Threatening Arale with a knife, Blue uses the hostage situation to make Goku powerless with his psychic abilities. So here, there's a couple of things. Goku goes through several rooms in the house and tries to find Blue, and Blue's able to evade him. Eventually, he's in the fridge. Goku opens the fridge, closes it, and then opens it again and sees him. And they kind of gasp at each other. And then Blue uses a knife to hold Arale hostage, not knowing that Arale, being an android, would not. It's not going to do anything.
He not knowing his own impotence, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and not following the mode of being that would be required here, because this is clearly not a place of pure logic, let's say.
Right. Well, this is also a place where you don't, how should I say, you don't get what you want by threatening that stability, right? This isn't a realm where you would even be able to get away with threatening a child. And that's why his advances on the child before are just like, they don't even work. They don't happen. They're not even
There's no
registered.
manifestation, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not even conceptualized in this area, in the setting.
Because like Arale, this place is designed to remain young, to remain innocent. So
Yes.
even whenever you try to corrupt it, it doesn't
And
work.
that's how the cops do here. They shoot each other with bullets, but they're fine. Like
Yeah.
it does harken a little back to that old Dragon Ball before guns were really a threat, because I mean, we've seen with General White, for example, that guns can be a serious threat for Goku.
Well, that's what's so. I think, man, this could be great because this could be Toriyama trying to tell you, hey, remember when it was like this? It's about to not be like this anymore. Because what happens immediately after this?
Right, this is the last gasp of it, and I think Toriyama understands that this is the last bit that he's going to be able to have of this whimsical nature, and the last tie to paradise is going to be severed here in just a minute.
Right. We're about to exit the vehicle and step into a different level of maturity, right?
But we'll get there because that's going to
Yeah.
be very exciting. So then we see the whole town talking about the Red Ribbon Army. Blue takes Goku's radar and fashions a tree as a spike to kill him. And at the last second, Senbei tells Arale to play with Blue roughly, so she sends him flying off the island. He says, go play pro wrestling roughly with him. And she just bashes him off the island. Here's that. And then she goes for a second one and slams him out with a headbutt.
Come on and slam.
Now, this is to say that Arale, the spirit that Arale inhabits in that purity and it part of it is that lack of wisdom and that naivety that it's allowed to banish out the idea of order being a corrupting influence.
It's like I would liken this to the honesty that comes from children that is so cutting, and because it gets to the truth of something, right? It's like they'll tell someone, "You're fat." Oh, wow, you're really old. It makes me think about that a little bit because it's sort of that space that adults don't really hang in very easily.
Right. It's telling Blue here that
Yeah.
his spirit is insufficient for this
He's
setting.
judged honestly, right?
Yeah.
Because I like that Goku contextualizes this as a game for her, right? Because he's saying like,
Well, it is a game, and Senbei tells her to play the game as well, right?
yeah, that even this is accounted for in paradise, right? In a weird sense, it's saying like, oh, this is all just a game, right? Play his game with him for just a second, and he's immediately destroyed.
Right. And I think we'll get to it in the next one. But yeah, that's pretty much right. I think I agree there. I agree strongly. So then we see that the cops come through and they fight the aliens who they think are the Red Ribbon Army. They eventually win using a rocket launcher. Meanwhile, Arale returns and the Turbo Baby frees Goku from Blue's power. Having found the Dragon Balls, Goku despairs that the radar is gone. Now, I do want to mention earlier something that I didn't mention. Was that the radar is actually not fixed by Dr. Slump, but it's fixed by the Turbo Baby.
Yeah, so Turbo Baby is like a creative muse in a sense, and makes it possible for Slump to
he's
be
almost
seen as
a
fixer.
vestige, a vessel of eldritch power. Like
you could call it that. It's cosmic.
Yeah, definitely. And he fixes the radar after having seen it once, and then later on here, we're gonna see him do something else with it. I just wanted to mention that.
No, that's it. That is important.
And so, the conflict between the police and the aliens is actually a very good analog for what's happened with Blue here, right? Is that the aliens have come to strip mine the value of this place. Blue has come to utilize this place for his own ends. Both have that repelling factor. Not so much a game for the cops, but the aliens' weapons are ineffective in stopping them. And so the police are able to use their weaponry and their guns to put a stop to the aliens and return the order that existed in Penguin Village before.
Well, their Red Ribbon Army is an alien, right? Because this is the perfect insular, it's no unknown, right? That's what paradise is, right? It's all known. Everything is accounted for. There is no chaos. There's no snake getting into the garden, right? There is no dragon. And there's no alien, right? So I like that we get a little symbolic playing out that the mechanism of orderliness that's here inside of paradise, right? It is essentially, as it's been penetrated by ideas that don't fit, it's fighting it off like a germ. Like these, and I think that these aliens kind of look like little germs, right?
Yeah, I like that, like a germ. Yeah.
And so it's like an immune system for paradise. These guys, they gather together and they're able to use what's necessary to force the alien or the outsider or the margin back out and then set things back into stasis.
And it's kind of just like a little mirror of what has happened with Goku and Blue. And I think that's why.
But that's also to say that Goku doesn't belong here either.
It is some filler, like some of it is anime only, just made to extend the episode. And that's why we've kind of gone through this one so quickly. But I think we're here at this last part where Turbo Baby recreates the radar from memory. And Goku says goodbye to his new friends. Blue, who has been launched into the desert, phones the Red Ribbon headquarters to report on the happenings, saying that he's lost the Dragon Balls, but he has the radar that they so desperately need. And Goku goes off on the Nimbus to go find said radar.
I think it's...
No, sorry. He goes off to find the next Dragon Ball. He doesn't care about Blue at all, because Blue only has the radar and not the Dragon Balls.
Right. I don't think that he says that he's going to look for Blue anymore. Now it's Blue's journey, right? He's been cast out of the paradise and now is in the desert. So
Exodus.
He's been excised, right?
Yes.
So Blue is now on his own little journey. I like that that our cosmic baby is able to materialize a dragon radar for Goku. Just by having seen
Well, it's the cosmic potential, right?
It is potential.
Here it is again. Yeah.
It orders things in a cosmic sense. It's like it sees the logos of a thing, you could say, or like the animating platonic form of a thing, and then can recreate it out of all of potentiality. It's very godlike, but it's like breathing
it's like
life
the
into
replicator,
dirt,
though,
right?
in Star Trek is what I mean. Like it's that endless potentiality that's
Right.
used to create anything. Right.
Right. It is complete mastery over
matter.
Over matter itself. Over what matters.
Over
as well.
things. Yes.
Yeah.
And so the matter with things. So, and that's kind of where we leave off with this little 3-episode arc. Some of it was filler, but you know, I think we had a lot more fun with it than we thought we would.
Yeah, when we were kind of going through it, felt like, oh man, I really hope we have something to say because there's a lot of things that happen in this.
There's a lot of things that happen. I will say there are a lot of like lingering shots. We didn't get too many for the clips because nothing happens in them, so we just didn't
Right.
get them. But I think that is a sufficient end to this little trilogy of Arale and Penguin Village. We won't see them again until we cover Super, which will be never.
We'll definitely be covering Super.
We're not doing that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you liked what you heard, please give us a like, a subscribe. We're also on Rumble and BitChute, so give us a subscribe and a
Rumble
and then give us a like there. Give us a like anywhere. If you disagreed with what you heard, please say in the comments. We'd love to talk about it. We'll address your comment live on air. We really haven't encountered too many comments to address that directly deal with the content. So we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, that's why we're doing what we're doing, really. We want to strike up a more robust conversation about how good these shows are, and get rid of these bad Goku's just a bad character memes.
King Piccolo arc is full of plot holes. Well, we'll get to it. All right. I think that's pretty much a good place to stop. Remember, I'm your host on the left, Owl.
I'm your host on the right, Brock.
And we hope you guys have a good night.
I'll never forget the day he showed up. And so, he told us that he was Goku. So we started calling him Goku Black. He looked down on all of us and said he was going to exterminate the human race. I have not only mastered Goku's powers, I have made them my own.